Hey guys, and welcome back to the May episode of It's a Bad Time. We're here. I'm here with Jared. And Jared, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Maybe a controversial topic?
Really?
I don't know, potentially.
Well, because let me lead you into this one.
Lead me.
In the
Guide
past
me.
month.
Show me the light.
Yes.
Literally, the light's right here. Show me the light.
I'm telling you, in the past month, we have seen a roller coaster ride on the stock market. And what does the stock market represent? Value. So, there's your nice lead into tonight's topic. Jared, what is tonight's topic?
Why do some watches and or brands gain or lose value?
Which is a good question. But before we get into that, let's go to our customary tradition of what's on the wrist. Jared, what do you got leading off tonight?
I was hoping you were going to go first.
I certainly will. I have my Quorum Admiral's Cup on tonight with the different type of band. This is the steel rubber dual band that you rarely ever see. This is a much rarer piece, speaking of value. And I added this to the watch. This is one of the things that people do for value, is add different types of bands to their watches. Because I like the dual look of it. I like the two-tone look that matches the dial. I originally had the stainless steel band on, and now I have both the rubber and the stainless steel for two different looks for the same piece. And what do you have on your wrist tonight?
Well, I have, over the next, between today and tomorrow, I'm going to be wearing, I know you guys have seen this watch so many times, the Omega Seamaster 300 Professional. It's the coaxial master chronometer. It's the Bond Wave Dial 2018 version. I love it. I mean, I personally love it on the mesh band. It's actually like super comfortable. I took the original band off. I know a lot of people will probably give me shit for it, but yeah, it's a great watch. Performs to a few seconds a day, which is great. A little large on the wrist at 42, but it's pretty comfortable. But yeah, before this episode, it was funny. Like I was talking to Drew, I'm like, what episode do you want to do in this? I know you guys remember our last episode, which was
unforgettable.
Man. So what I didn't realize is that when I had my Swiss Army pocket knife pen, it was a pen, but I didn't realize that one of the things was a pressurized pen until the one that had exploded, I threw away, of course, and I got a new one, and I went on to Victorinox's website to order a new one. And they said, one of the cool things is you get a pressurized ballpoint pen, and I'm like, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was just, like, the watch itself that was bleeding, but no, it was
that
the
would
pen.
explain the golf cart.
So, yeah, we kind of got stuff all over the golf cart.
Definitely ruined that golf cart.
Oh, for sure.
It's a good thing we don't even live in that state.
Yeah.
Very good thing. If you're going to ruin a golf cart, step one, do not live in the same state. And leave a fake name. So... that we were definitely able to do. We were able to get that scorecard out.
I was going to say the funny thing was that
I ran to get it.
We're going to the car. Drew literally parks. They were taking care of the other golf carts. Drew drove up to the... I
ran up there.
Well, he drove the golf cart up there, and then he came back down. And then he ended up running back up to get the scorecard. That way our names weren't left. So.
Yes.
Kind of smart.
Don't leave evidence if you're going to ruin something. Step one to any problem in life. You can't trace it back to you. But
the good news is the watch is okay, though.
The watch is okay.
I put a new little clasp on it because the other one got pen all over it and just needed to be thrown away. Although I guess I could have saved it, but I didn't think about that at the time. We were just more so in a panic, like, really?
And it can hold its value now. Speaking of which, segue back into this. All right, so you talk about value and why some watches hold it.
Well, the funny thing is that watches and value really are not synonymous terms to begin with.
No, you don't. Typically, in the watch market, you don't buy a watch for it to increase in value. As we all know, there's only one brand that is known for that type of movement, and we all know it's Rolex. But they are the anomaly. They are not the norm. Usually watches, just like cars, don't increase in value. It's not like a house where you can buy a house for $300,000, wait 20 years, and then sell it for $450,000. That's not the way watches work unless you're Paul Newman.
Although
it can,
there are
based
exceptions.
on certain exceptions.
Well, there's two. So, all right. I'll go. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go into my part, and then Drew's gonna go into his part because I know I'm an expert in my part. He's an expert in his part. So, in my opinion, I would say 95 at least percent, if not more, of watches will decrease or just hold. Not even hold. Just decrease in value.
Mm-hmm.
It's like about 5-ish%, maybe a little bit more, that will actually hold and or really go up in value. Two kinds of watches I'm going to say that will, well, maybe more than two. The first is there is a watch auction that goes on every couple of years, I want to say. It's called Only Watch. I don't know if Drew has ever heard of this, but it's a watch for charity, or an auction for charity, and a lot of big brands. The biggest one, Patek Philippe, for sure, auction off literally one of a kind watches, like maybe something from their popular line, but it's the only kind, whether it's a different color, different anything, but it's going to be the only one ever produced. So, exclusivity, one of one. So, recently I did it on, it wasn't recently, I feel like it was like last year at some point, but they auctioned off the Patek Philippe Grandmaster. It was ridiculous, but it went for like 30 some odd $1 million, I want to say. Most expensive wrist watch, not watch in general, because I think pocket watch have went for more. Most expensive wristwatch ever went. So the moral of the story is that exclusivity will, of course, bring a watch's value up, do whatever it is. Bringing up something cool?
I'm actually going to relay this to a different type of...
Cool. All right. So he's getting something together, but it's, again, exclusivity will just drive a price much higher. Now, the only problem with something like that, you really can't wear the watch, because then if you wear it, the value will immediately go. So literally, you buy it as like an investment. So to me, it's like, yeah. I mean, listen, if someone has the money, if someone's spending $30 million, I'm pretty sure they're probably worth a couple billion at least. Probably more than that. They don't even care about the money. But the other one that I was really thinking of is vintage pieces. Because depending on what kind of vintage piece it is, condition, box papers, all this other stuff. As Drew mentioned, the Paul Newman Daytona, that's what I think, that was one of the watches, the speculation on it, which drove the watch market crazy for years. It exploded it. It drove Rolex prices up even more, vintage prices up even more in general. Just really sort of, crazy stuff or whatever it was. But,
the exact 2 points Jared just hit on is what I'm going to give examples of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of new watches,
well, we'll get to that in a minute,
know.
because I'll give you examples of what Jared was just talking about. And I can very easily do this in another industry that mirrors watches very similarly, and that's baseball cards. Okay. We just talked about rarity based on the auction. Okay. You're dealing with one-of-ones. I think a perfect example is any baseball card that is called a printing plate. Okay. It's a one-of-one. I have two examples of it. Two different types of printing plates. Okay, and there's two ways to make this rare. Number one, you already have the printing plate, which is already a one-of-one. Just like a watch, if it's made for a certain charity, it's a one-of-one. So you set the market. There is no market. Your market is what somebody will pay. That's the beauty of a one-of-one. You're the only one that owns it, especially if it's specialized. For instance, I got this signed, both signed and engraved with all of the lifetime stats. So not only is it one of one, but now it's specialized just like they do in the charity auctions. Sometimes on the back of watches, they will put for the what charity auction it was from, the date,
or on the dial.
There's an engraving on it somewhere to give it that special rarity piece. Because now, not only are you buying one of one, but now you're buying a piece of history. So history is important when it comes to watches, because if it's a special piece of history or somebody famous owned it, you're going to really have a much more expensive piece.
Can you agree, though, that just for the sake of the watch's purposes, you really can't wear it? If you did, it would just...
No, it's more... He's right. It's more of a showpiece. Okay? Yeah. Because unlike baseball cards, you don't wear baseball cards. You can carry them with you. There is a risk to doing it, but it's not something you can wear. It's more or less protected. As you can see, baseball cards usually come in protective cases. Watches usually go when they travel in protective cases with these type of rare pieces. We see this all the time at the NYC Watch Show. So you got a lot of these are in lockdown boxes with keys and screws, and you have all these different types of security around this watch because of how rare it is. Because if you're going to deal with something that holds value, it's either got to be rare, or like Jared said, it's got to be old. You got to go the vintage level. Like, for instance, you're looking at a 1921 Babe Ruth baseball card right now. The reason it's valuable is because not only is the person that it represents, but how old it is. I flip it around, I'll go even further. This is an 1887 baseball card of Jack Glasscock, and you wonder, who the hell is he? It doesn't matter. He has the best name on earth.
Does he know Rusty Kuntz?
That's right. That's the...
Real people. Real people.
Dick
Rusty
Cole.
Kuntz is still alive, by the way. Spelled Kuntz. No dirty thoughts out there.
And he does sign in the mail. But that's something totally different. But if you're going to buy, you're going to either buy for vintage because you want, again, piece of history, or you're going to buy on rarity for a piece that you can own because, again, it goes back to the piece of history. That's how you can sell it and make money.
But the however to all this is that for the most part, for most of us out there, everyone thinks like, oh, let me buy a Rolex. Let me put it away. 18 years, it's going to go up, whatever it is. It also depends on the model, right? The Datejust are not going to appreciate like the Submariners will, like the Steel Sports models will, versus the, dressy sort of, hybrid, kind of pieces.
But this kind of counteracts what we just said before. This actually goes the opposite way. Why does the Datejust not go up in value like the Submariner?
The watch world makes 0 sense.
Right. And now, you know the reason why? Popularity. We just told you about history and rarity. That goes in the extreme opposite direction of popularity. Now you just went from what nobody has to what everybody has and what everybody wants. So that's the other way a watch can become more valuable, is if it's extremely popular because the demand is there. You're not talking about the sell side, now you're talking about the buy side.
Rolex produces, maybe with the exception of this year with the whole COVID-19, they produce millions of watches. I mean, millions of, 5 million watches a year, if not more, maybe 7?
Yeah.
And yet their price is still...
It's popularity because everybody wants it. Now you're talking about something, again, that's totally opposite of what we just said.
But it wasn't always the case, though.
No, it's true.
It wasn't always the case.
That's true. And it isn't the case in terms of other watch brands, because other watch brands outside of Rolex you see running into trends. If you ever want to see a trend on a watch brand, go down to Chinatown, and they'll let you know which ones are hot. Okay, because Rolex is always there, the knockoff market. If you go down to any Chinatown in any state in the U.S., you will always see Rolex there in the black market. But what you don't see is the 2 or 3 other brands that are trending, because those are the 3 that keep on changing. I remember in the 90s, Movado used to be one of them. That was one of the hottest things. That's long gone now, okay? Now it's Admiral's Piguet, it's Hublot to a degree, it's always, you're going to have Patek Philippe, you're going to have, these brands that normally Lang & Son was there a couple years ago. It changes. Most of it changes based on what celebrities and rappers and everything else like that wear.
Two brands. Patek, Rolex are the two that I can really only think of. If you go on to Wikipedia, or just in general, Google search this. Google search most expensive wristwatches like ever sold or ever bought or whatever it is. Takes you to a Wikipedia page. I think you'll see maybe like one or two Vacheron. Maybe part of the Holy Trinity. Vacheron, AP,
JLC.
and no, it's not. No, it's not JLC. Who's it again? I should know this. No, it's Vacheron, AP, and damn it. Hold on. I'm gonna let Drew talk for it because now it's actually bothering me that I don't have it.
That sucks.
And I know who it is too.
So you're talking either about rarity or popularity.
If it is JLC, I'm gonna laugh.
Those are the
It's not that.
two total opposite ends of the spectrum when you're talking about value. Now the other,
okay. Patek Philippe. I'm like, what am I doing? We were just talking about it. Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin. Now, it's funny. They're in the Holy Trinity. Audemars Piguet does not appreciate like Patek Philippe does, and neither does Vacheron Constantin. I mean, they're expensive brands. Do they hold value? I don't know. I guess. I don't know that market nearly as well because I'm not in that market personally. But Patek Philippe, oh my God.
They do appreciate.
It's between them and Rolex. I'm telling.
Rolex still appreciates more because they're the demand is greater for Rolex than it is.
Absolutely. You know what? I would say Patek really holds value.
Oh yeah.
So and
it's
definitely
a much more
increased
niche market.
Correct. Definitely increased a little bit. I agree. Not as much as
Rolex does now. Rolex, because everybody wants Rolex, and everybody can afford a Rolex if they're used and they're a lower model. Okay, they can go for a couple $1,000s. Patek you can't even get for a couple $1,000s. Okay, Patek, I think the lowest you can get is $8,000-$9,000 because again they make much fewer watches and they are a much more niche brand than. It's more like you have to know watches to know about Patek Philippe. We said this about Oris a long time ago. And Oris is actually now becoming much more mainstream based on their marketing. But Oris years ago was you had to really know watches to know Oris. And that's what Patek Philippe is. You may have heard of the name, but you really don't know the brand. If you really want to know the brand, go to our episode that we did a couple years ago at the Patek Philippe show in New York City as well. That got a lot of views and was a very popular episode.
I will say this. When you mention watches, there are two brands that people know, even if they don't have them. They do know Patek Philippe. It's one... Again, part of it too, we didn't mention this. I know we're starting really to get into this episode a little bit, but it's also marketing, branding. What's the history on everything? I mean,
And let's not forget material, because that plays into it as well. If you take a look at, if I buy a piece that is solid 18 karat
platinum, gold, titanium,
or if it's
steel,
solid gold,
but actually
that factors in.
Here's the funny thing, right? Steel has actually gotten to be one of the most popular. Now it's not the most expensive material, but in terms of resale prices. Wow.
Materials do
It's amazing.
matter. That's the next point we wanted to bring up because materials, due to its longevity. What I don't like about really expensive watch brands, this includes Patek. This is my criticism of Patek. They use a lot of alligator and leather bands on their watches, which I think cheapens the brand because you're not giving it the longevity.
Good for them because customers keep coming back to buy bands.
They keep buying more. I know why they do it. However, it does not hold value like Jared's saying. If you were to find a Patek with a steel band, okay, that's going to hold a lot better value because steel lasts a lot longer and it's a lot more versatile than alligator or rubber or leather bands or anything like that because you wear through them so quickly. It's very, very easy to. As I was explaining to Jared earlier, I said, as much as I love this band, and this is a dual band of both stainless steel and rubber, I have to be careful with how I wear the rubber. I can't go underwater with it. I can't leave it out in the sun. I can't do any of that because what's going to end up happening to the rubber is it cracks. And then when it cracks, it eventually breaks. And if any one of these links break, as you can see in these first three, they do not have screws. The whole band is ruined. And the band is not cheap. It's about $1,500 for this band.
Really?
Yes. So if you ruin any one of these first 3 links, you are screwed. And I mean that literally. These 3 links, they can be replaced because they have the screws where you can just replace the link out. However, any one of these 3 go down, you're done. You need a brand new band.
What? So it's just the rubber itself that holds
just
them together?
The rubber. Well, no. If this rubber cracks, you just have a hole in between. Okay, it looks awkward and looks terrible, and you're not going to wear it like that. So, but the rubber does make the watch on this thing. The problem with rubber is we know what happens if the elements get to it. Same thing with leather, same thing with alligator. Any type of material you want to use outside of steel, gold, or platinum, or ceramic is going to have that problem. So materials do matter when it comes, and that's why you see Rahdo actually holds their value actually pretty decently these days. They've come down a lot to begin with because when you have ceramic, not only do you not you have the longevity through the material, but you also have it doesn't scratch, so it always looks new. So when I sell the watch 10 years after I bought it, it still looks brand new like the day I bought it. I don't have to polish it.
Ceramic bezels.
That's the new thing. If you notice, everybody's doing ceramic bezels. Why?
It'll never age.
Because it doesn't age and it doesn't scratch, and it makes the watch
actually
more valuable.
The other funny thing is that not only is the bezel made of ceramic, the dial. So essentially, maybe and the steel is really corrosion resistant. So actually, in 30 years from now, this watch is going to look the same that it does now, which
That's
is
correct. It doesn't age.
Sick.
And I know, and I'm not a big fan of this brand, but Invicta came up with the Flame Fusion crystal years ago to prevent both scratching and cracking, which is something you could get. You can crack a sapphire crystal, you can't scratch it unless it's from a diamond. And glass crystals you can scratch, but you can't shatter them. So what Invicta did was they came back with the Flame Fusion crystal where you couldn't do either of them. And that was, again, to make their watches more towards longevity. So people would buy them because it gives an increased value to their watch. Now, they're not worth a lot to begin with, but it would be something you would buy a watch for if you didn't care about name recognition. You just wanted something that was going to last longer. And that was one of your big issues.
As we were talking here, it was funny because, I was thinking about a lot of things, and I think a kind of a good way to start closing out this episode is this, there was another episode idea that I brought up to Drew, and we can kind of mesh it here in the last couple minutes, but why do some people still buy wristwatches, right? Because when you have things like this, and most people, obviously are just telling the time on cell phones and smartwatches and some other things, why still buy a wristwatch, right? Well, obviously, what we just talked about value-wise, they're not really going to hold. Some will, but for most of us who buy watches, they're not going to or appreciate it, whatever it is. But if I had to choose, and I'm going to want you to think about this while I answer it. If I had to choose one reason why I personally just still buy a wristwatch, one of the things that people tell me all the time, and this is funny, is that it's the same time. The time is, listen, what time, and we're just gonna go over time here because I really don't care, because this is starting to get to be just like a little bit, a little personal, whatever, just to me. But the top time there, actually, this is backwards, so it doesn't look good, but the atomic time, right? Theoretically, we live life based off of the clock, the atomic clock, solar, whatever it is, it's what dictates our day. It's what dictates our lives. We're of course in years measured by the number of years we lived. What did we do with our time here and things like that. But what's interesting with a wristwatch, in terms of holding value, not holding value, you have to buy a watch that speaks to you, that you love, that you can enjoy for years. If you wanted to sell it down the road or give it to someone else and then they wanted to sell it, fine. But, to me, time can actually be told in different ways. And the cool thing about a watch that you don't really get with, these, Fitbits and, Apple Watches and stuff like that, the sheer mechanics are just ridiculous. And I know that my collection personally is not going to go up in value over time. I really don't even care about it. But what matters to me is that, like, I own a piece of history. I own things that tell me time, but also some have different dials, different textures. They have different movements. They do different things on a different day. They make you feel a certain way. I'm curious to know what Drew says about this.
I think watches tell the story of you. I think that's the simplest way I can put it. They tell who you are in a variety of different ways. You often find people, some people like big faces, some like small faces, some like automatic, some like quartz, some like. It tells what you liked in your life. And if you look at somebody's watch collection, some are very diverse, some are the same, some are, eclectic, some are pretty plain. You can get a real sense of what the person was like just by looking at their watch collection, based on, because they do tell a lot about you. They become a part of you. Each one of them holds a different little piece of who you are. Because if you look at most watches, they're not the same. They, as Jared was saying, they do a lot of different things.
Listen, they do all tell the time.
That's about the only
But
thing
you know
that,
what, though?
as long as it's not broke. But even that's right, twice a day.
Here's actually what I want everyone to do one day, right? Watch Box on YouTube, Tim Masso. A little bit of a shout out because their channel has been one of the ones that has been getting me through like certain days, hard days. And listen, rough times more now than we've almost ever lived in, and we're all trying to find ways to keep ourselves entertained. Um, they have this video, and I'm thinking about this every day. It's like waking up with watches or something like that. Guys, I have to tell you this. What makes me fall in love with wrist watches. And this is just, I mean, first of all, besides Drew getting me so heavily into them, is very, very true. He knows it. Everyone else around me knows it. Everyone knows I'm even sicker than Drew is. It's very, very true. And he knows it too. I can tell you guys this, though. When you see different watches and you see what's called complications, we've talked about it on this channel. I'm sorry, we're going way over time. I don't even care. But it's interesting. When you see tourbillons, when you see chronographs, when you see day dates, when you see fusee chains, when you see minute repeaters.
When you see some of the stuff we see at these shows, it's absolutely breathtaking.
Well, it's fun. Now, listen, I know sometimes the average person out there won't care. I get it. That's totally, totally cool. But here's what I will say, right? Think about the thing. It's funny how we just go off on tangents, by the way, right? And it's my fault.
Usually is.
Yes. Well, remember, we were talking about this episode. If you drop the ball, pass it to someone else. So, listen, by the way, we're all human. We all make mistakes. But the funny thing... Now, here's what I want you guys to do just at home very quickly, right? Just think about, just for a second, what's one thing that you love so much, almost more than anything? I mean, obviously for me, it's, my wife, my child, it's wristwatches too. I mean, family too, of course, is most important. But when you think about the tangible things and stuff like that, for me, watches are just ridiculous. There's so much information and so many different complications and so many different things that go into a wristwatch. You could YouTube, Google how a watch is made and all different kinds of watches. Like I said, check out Watchbox, waking up with watches in the morning. The kind of watches that you see and the kind of complications, for me, it's like love at first sight yet again. It's kind of bad to watch that because you're like, yeah, I kind of want that. I want that. Now let me go search for something like that that's not as expensive as $20,000. Maybe it's like $3,000. But yeah, I mean, guys, it's better to get a watch pre-owned if you don't want to take that initial hit. If you get a pre-owned watch and you want it to go up in value, it's important to stay ahead of the curve, although it's very, very, very difficult to do that. Even experienced collectors don't know what the next collection piece is going to be until it starts to catch fire. Exclusivity, like we said, is something a one of a kind? If it is, are you really going to be able to wear it? Not really. You're going to have to,
But
is
you
it
can
worth
set
it?
the market.
Absolutely. Again, the name, the marketing, the material, like we talked about. But, again, you buy watches to wear them and enjoy. Rolex is probably the only watch you can buy to wear and it still goes up. That's the only watch, I think the only watch in the world that will do that.
That's why they're so unique.
The Rolex Submariner, even more specific. The only watch in the world where, I mean, if you buy it new now, you're going to take, a little bit of a hit, whatever it is, but it'll still maintain. Back. Oh, my God.
I bought mine new in 2013 for $5,500. How good does that look now?
Is it two-tone? The two-tone
The
one,
two-tone
right?
blue.
You're at least at around 10 grand now.
And that's for you.
And that's wearing it, doing whatever.
That's wearing it and knocking the crap out. And it's still.
It's got box and papers, right?
Box and papers. It's brand new. It comes
golden.
with everything. I'm gold.
You're golden.
Okay, so that's what happens. Rolex, you got to wait if you buy them new, but it comes right back. It's like the ADP stock. You never lose with it. So I mean that's the interesting thing about it. But do you realize we have up over 150 subscribers now on this channel?
You know what?
We started with 0.
The funny thing is that actually my channel sort of rival. Personally, my channel's at 91. I want to say, but I actually haven't produced. I'm the next few days I have to produce some videos. Actually, I kind of grew my collection. I'm going to have now 7 watches, 1 for each day of the week. I used to have 42. Then we went all the way down to get a roll. The roller coaster ride that I've been on, by the way, with watches, I think it would make most of them throw up.
Yeah, I mean,
literally,
this channel took a hiatus for a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was the interesting part. So thank you guys for staying with us all this time, even though 150. It kept, and the weird part is when we took the hiatus, I actually tracked this shit.
It went up.
It actually kept going up, and we were off the air. So I mean, it was really weird. So I thank everybody for staying with us all this time, and for the new people who have come with us along the way. As we were on our own channels during that time period. And
do you still do your channel?
Yeah, my channel, my watch out is still on once a month. I have like around 956 subscribers or something.
Really?
Yeah, I'm almost at 1,000.
Wow, that's not bad.
But yeah, I mean, but you got
guys, go subscribe to get them to 1,000.
Yeah, we're getting there. That get ads. Ooh, I know you guys love that. So
it's unbelievable.
But I mean, you go through all these things. And, we thank everybody for sticking with us.
The other thing, too, is this, right? Longer episode just because it's some sentimental things.
COVID-19.
I know that... one of the things that's maximum 5... Oh. Well, now we're into the next clip, so Drew's going to have to splice this together. Actually, I need Drew to show me how to do that because I don't know how to do it. But, the other thing that's funny is this, right? When it comes to watches or anything else, I'm just going to bring up another lesson because it came on my mind, so I have to. What's one of the things, I think it was your dad that always said this about wanting something or something like that if it's there? Or was it your grandmother?
No, it's my father.
Okay, this is a great saying, and I want Drew to say it.
It's a saying in life. If you see something you like, buy it because the next time you go there, it won't be there. And it's very true. My wife actually lives by this policy now because it's so true. You see something you like, you go back to get it, and it's gone. And that's the way, you have to live like you were dying in a certain way to tell it like Tim McGraw does, because sometimes things only come around once, and it's all a matter of fate in some ways. So, I mean, guys, if you see a particular watch that you want and your heart's been set on it and it's sitting right there in front of you, sometimes don't do price checks for a billion years. Just get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the journey is worth the extra money because that's the story you're going to tell and pass down to your future generations, and it's the story that will be told about you. So I think that's a good way to summarize it as we end up closing off this episode. But guys,
I know Drew has designed a nice $100,000 watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice $100,000.
Add that little sucker to my insurance policy.
Yeah, why not?
But guys, please keep subscribing. Let's add some more subscribers to this channel during this.
Yeah, let us know also what you guys want to see. We actually had a list of whole other
we're going to be back. We're going to be doing more
Sunday.
episodes as the summer starts coming in.
We got to do an episode. We're playing golf again on Sunday.
Yeah,
there will
we'll
be
probably
no
no exploding
ballpoint pen explosions, which will be good. I will be wearing my Seiko. Drew will be wearing his Rado, of course.
Golf watches, yeah.
And hold on, just to give them a little preview, let's figure out kind of what we want to do with the next episode. Let's do. By the way, the other thing that I want to do, I normally don't do this, but I want to give a huge shout out to the new place that I work at. I just have to say that A, I love my coworkers, number one. B, I love the company. It's more than amazing. Damn, did I get lucky with that?
Yeah.
I just had to just say that because it's sometimes in life you just strike gold. So I love the new place I work at. So let's see. The first thing. Why do people still buy? Wow, we kind of went through 2 episodes in one. Okay, here's what we're gonna do on Sunday. Why do people only buy or collect a certain type of watch? I think that'll be perfect. That's an interesting. I know some of you guys out there just have a particular kind, or just like to buy one. I'm maybe a little guilty personally myself.
But guys, keep watching, subscribing. Wait a couple days. We'll have another episode for you.
Julie's gonna have to splice this one.
Yes, I do it very well.
Is it easy?
Yeah, you just have to have a certain program, Movie Maker.
I thought you did it with YouTube Creator.
No.
By the way, I love Drew's laugh. He's like, yeah, no.
I wouldn't take that much time.
Should we just keep this episode going? No, we shouldn't.
No, my battery's going to run out anyway. I love how let's keep the episode going. It's
not
not his
fault.
phone,
It's my fault.
but I love how we just burn my battery as we keep the episode going. All right, everybody, have a good night. Go, see your kids, do whatever you have to do. And we'll
enjoy your watches more
Enjoy your watches and, buy time until we get to Sunday. So we'll see everybody on the next episode of
It's About Time.